What's up, everybody? Welcome to Riddim Talk. Today, our feature is Jerlani Robinson. Now, Jelani, we know you in music, as the band manager for Signal, but we also know a little bit more about you in terms of your career in cricket. So today, we're going to touch a little bit on that and more, as your role as manager. So, firstly, let's start off with letting the people know properly Jelani Robinson or Suge Knight. How did that come about?
Suge Knight, Shacks, yeah, DJ Unstoppable Shacks, and then Chidel, and then Baggio, and then, but the Suge Knight name really came about because of, different interactions and different scenarios. And, Shacks was like, boy, you're rough, you're ruthless, but he's straight on the business, So I think at the time he was just bouncing names around and he found like that was the most, suiting, so my peers, most people in the industry, and I think when you hear the name Suge Knight, you come across like the big boss, but still,
About the business.
yeah, no pushover kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that is where it really came from.
All right. So, what led you to pursue management in the music industry coming from cricket?
Well, they went hand in hand. I mean, Signal is 16 years this year, so you can well imagine. But it wasn't a direct me pursuing music. It was literally just trying to be close to my peers. My best friend was Sheldon. Well, he's Sheldon, and then at the end of the day, I been in cricket and see what cricket can do for me in terms of my talent. At the time, Signal was going through a bunch of different transitions. And I just reach out to him and tell him like I feel like you guys have the talent, but we need to put some kind of level of structure to it. So at the time I didn't know what I was doing. I just had a vision.
A vision.
And the vision led to what we are now.
All right. So, what are some of the characteristics that you think that you picked up along the way that you think that a manager in the Bouyon music industry would need to have?
Honestly, I just think the main thing is understanding the industry. When you understand the industry, then a lot of different things, will fall in place. There's no set formula, in terms of that. Like when, we started, there was no guide. We didn't know who to turn to. Everybody have their own way of operating.
Right.
And we didn't really fancy any of those ways. So we basically were left to fend on our own. But right now I think if I have to advise anybody, I think understand the industry, understand the Bouyon music first before jumping just to have a title as a manager. It's really more than that.
For sure. And you mentioned having to do it by yourself, having to, having no guide. And what I can definitely say as, someone looking into the music is that what you didn't know or what the band didn't know, it worked. Because at the end of the day, Signal has been able to create a uniqueness about them in terms of their sound, in terms of the way you all operate. I mean, it is definitely a difference that we haven't seen before. So I want to give my congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks.
And I'm just happy to see that.
Yeah, thanks.
How would you describe the current state of the Bouyon music industry in Dominica and in the wider Caribbean?
Definitely on the up. Well, Dominica is without saying, but originally I think the air for us is a bit wider now. We cannot hide from it. I think we all know who really brought that, Suki and the nasty business through. Like it or not, that's a reality. But I think now, the music, is being played by the wider region, and that is important. Before we were begging for a slot on a playlist.
Yeah.
And right now there's no playlist without a Bouyon music being played. So I think definitely on the up, and if we continue to can only get higher.
For sure. What strategies do you use to differentiate Bouyon from other genres in the regional and global markets?
Nothing specific other than we just make sure we drive it home. We are a live performing band. So anything we do, we always highlight where we're from, what we do and who created it. At the end of the day, no matter how you spin the wheel, there's only one truth. And the truth will always be that it started here.
Correct.
So there's no need to be carrying a back and forth with anybody.
That's
You
it. Full stop.
yeah,
This day, come on.
you know where it started, and so our goal is just everywhere we go, we always meet new patrons, new clients. So it's our duty to educate them. So that's just the way we go about it.
So you mentioned being able to drive it home, able to tell everybody and make sure everybody knows that this came from Dominica, point blank, period. And I think that brings me to understanding the importance of branding. Tell us about that. How would you define a brand?
Pretty simple, is what people can identify you with, and that's just how we see it, so that's more reason why we have to be proud of what we have, because when you hear Signal Band, the first thing you feel it is a Bouyon band. And even when we talk, Shelly will do a drop and it'll be like the most electrifying Bouyon band in the world. So that is, we want to make sure that doesn't go away. So I feel branding is very important because that is the first and the last mark people are going to remember you for.
For sure. So when it comes to things like brand image and its protection, what are some of the measures that you think need to be taken?
It comes back to the business side of things. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but for us, I think we're a well-oiled machine. So we have, the legal teams for those things. So it's not possible for you to take anything from us and use without our permission. And I think that is one of the biggest issues the Bouyon have had before, where people would be able to just bounce around and use different things, and nobody held responsible for it. So for us, it's pretty much the opposite. If you want to use one line in our song, we have to bless it, or one image, we have to bless it, because we want to make sure that, like you said, the brand
protected.
is protected.
All right. So that leads me to ask you another question. Digging into, as you mentioned, the business side, how do you approach things like contracts, royalties, and intellectual property rights in the industry?
This, I think, is a very good question, because a lot of people that are not in the industry don't understand the dynamics behind those things. Every single sample, every single thing you use, it's owned by somebody,
Right.
right? And for us, we definitely do not want to get sued. So most times, if not all the time, you hear Signal play anything, especially when it comes to sampling, is because we have had the rights. We list it. Contracts wise, we don't do anything without black and white. I think that is one of the only ways to survive in the industry, because it's a lot cheaper to list it than to be sued for it.
For sure.
So anything you hear us use, 99.9%, we have some documentation giving us the blessing to use it.
So you would say that that is something that you consider non-negotiable.
Definitely.
So tell me more about that. So tell me more. What do you think, or what's on your list of non-negotiable do's and don'ts?
For me, it's literally, for outsiders, it's simple. And once we have to have a discussion, we need black and white. And that is the only thing I stand by, because with that, everything else will trickle along under it. Internally, we have some hard yards, and I think that's what keeps us where we are, in terms of like punctuality, discipline. But that's internal stuff, and that is what people see on the outside, is because of the discipline on the inside. But on the outside is literally whatever we do, we don't compromise. Black and white, and our lawyer always close. Yeah.
So you just mentioned, being clear when it comes to the black and white, making sure that things are written and you operate by that. So tell us a little bit into Signal's world where it comes to your business structures that exist. So I know you mentioned that internally you have maybe write-ups for punctuality and stuff like that. And I like to hear that. On my personal career in HR, that's a big thing for us. So I'm very happy that you said that. But I want to know a little bit into Signal's world, the structure that comes with all of your black and white.
People see the 6 guys on stage, but we have literally about 12 full time, including the guys on stage. In terms of the non-negotiables, or I would say the structure for us, we run we run a full-blown business, with management team, that team, this team, and what we emphasize is for it to be successful, it has to follow the norm of a proper business. So things like practice, we don't compromise on that. We're the first, and I can proudly say it, we're the only fully employed band in Dominica. Guys who have no other job. Your 8 to 4 is signal band. And that means you have to come to practice that day, that time. And if you don't, you can't make it to practice, you need permission. You need to be excused from practice. If you miss a certain amount of practice, you get fined. These are the kind of things, these are sort of the discipline measures we have put in place. Performance-wise, there's nothing called alcohol and stuff like that when we comes to showtime. So there are a lot of things when you miss the bus, definitely you're gonna feel it in your pocket. And these are some of the things I had to go through in cricket that had made me so disciplined, and I feel like they go hand in hand. If you want to be successful, then you have to have certain measures in place. It cannot be a free evolve. So that's why most times you see signal show up before a show the exact time every time, 45 minutes before. That is in black and white. Guys might come before, but that's up to them. But there are certain things that internally we do not compromise on, and the major thing is about discipline. Practice. Preparation. I'm here sitting now, but guys are practicing. So that's the kind of structure we have, and everybody don't do everything. So there's a team for production. So just for an example, I hear signal songs when they're done. I do not overstep the line. The same way they cannot ask me to see certain things as a manager, I do not overstep the line. And that is how we're able to be so well oiled. So for example, when the guys do production sessions, because Shell is my best friend, and I wouldn't say business-wise, because he's my best friend, he might make me it on his phone. And I would not.
As your friend.
Yeah, as my friend. And not in my phone, on his phone. I won't go to the studio. But I will critique it after as an ordinary person, because I'm not a musician. So that's the line we draw. So sometimes they send stuff to me as a manager, but as an ordinary person. So we have a few things that is not normal, but it is I think is the best operating mechanism in terms of what we have.
Yeah, I agree. And just as a regular person, I do believe that structure is what keeps something going. At the end of the day, it can't just be a Vicky business. We have to understand an order. There needs to be people responsible for certain things. And you mentioned that you have separate teams. You have a production team, and so. Can you get into that a little bit more? Because I mean, for me, it's not anything new, but for someone else, it might be, hey, they have production team.
Yeah, well, for us, we have a few sub teams. So like we said, well, there's, for example, the back line that's on stage. Sometimes they do certain things and Shell is not aware, and when it comes to practice, he's like, what? Yeah, we practice that. So there's certain practice sessions, he's not even welcome. And everybody has their role. So we have the production team that deals with studio stuff. We have obviously the legal team that deals with that. The management team is really, Shelly's kind of overlapping all, because obviously it's his band. But final decision making mainly is between me and him. But I would say 70-30 in terms of the final say. So we have sub teams, and then when we move into different gears, for example, like Carnival, Curl Festival time, we have people in charge of the show, the dancing, the lighting. We have, everybody knows their role, and I think that makes it a lot easier. I think one of the issues we have, or we suffering from generally, is just micromanagement. And I definitely don't want to get involved in micromanaging. So sometimes I have to be begging for a signal live. Like, Duns, send the live. And people will feel like I have all live. And no. Duns is like, when it's ready. But that is how we operate. And I think that is literally what have us how we are. That everybody knows their role.
And
So
responsibilities.
I can't remember when last I went to a band practice. And we've been practicing every week for the past year and a half. And I literally can't remember last time I went to a band practice. Sometimes I have to ask for the repertoire at the event because outside trusting them, I think that's just the best way to run. I think when people have responsibilities, you get the best out of them. You know,
Because they feel empowered. They don't
Yeah.
feel like somebody's breathing down their neck. They have a responsibility. And at the end of the day, it's like parenting.
Yeah.
You know, you expect for your children to do the best in your absence. You don't expect to be there with them all of the time.
True.
So I think that's very good. So when it comes to I really like the fact that you all have a strict program.
Yeah, definitely.
A strict program
Definitely,
to the point where everybody have I'm sure people have job titles and job
Yes,
descriptions.
definitely.
So let's just say someone on your production team, your production manager, that person signs off on a contract, they get a job description,
Yeah.
they get whatever else is necessary to operate. That's I'm saying that correct, yes?
Yeah, you're very right. Everybody in the setup has the individual contract. No two persons have the same contract. You know, everybody has the compensation package, and you know those things are naturally like any other business they vary on a number of things. You know, but everybody has a job title. Everybody compensation package it's differently based on what is expected, based on what was you put in. You know, and we didn't get there easy. I'll be very honest with you. That I think was the most challenging bridge to get to, because we know we know the economy we're in. You know, and to convince a guy that working for Signal versus working, let's say, at Astafans or Jollies, you know, you have to match it,
Yeah.
and
That have to
sometimes
make sense.
it has to make sense. You know, you have to match that. You know, but I think what people don't see is I would say, is the sacrifices we made. You know, I've never had an interview like this, you know, and we never go out and be sulky in public, make people know what we're going through. And that's one thing I appreciate the boys for. You know, if we're struggling, we're struggling
It's inside.
inside, and when we happy inside.
Like a healthy marriage.
Yeah, well, I'm married, so I would know. But yeah, you know, but it wasn't an easy ride. You know, we have had our challenges, but I can safely say now that you know it was worth it. You know, it's worth it.
All right. So let's talk money. Let's talk investments. What investments are most critical for long-term success?
Long term, honestly, I would think is merchandising. You know, that will live on. You know, if we walk down to them, if we like to say Bob Marley shirt, we buy it. Bob Marley's nowhere on earth.
True.
You know, but there's somebody in place to keep reaping the benefits of Bob Marley's hard work. You know, and that is how we look at things. You know, the now is nice, the tomorrow is nice, but what about next week? You know, and that's how we operate. So for us, merchandising is a non-negotiable in terms of investment. You know, there are other things we can do, but in terms of legacy and living on, definitely merchandising, I think, tips it.
All right. So that actually led me to want to ask you this. How important do you think it is to diversify your brand? Because I know that you just talked about, Bob Marley. He has been gone. I mean, I don't think I was alive when he had died. And up to now, people are still buying his songs. People are still buying his products. So that goes to show, taking care of his legacy. So how important do you think that is to diversify?
I think it's very important, but I also think is how we do it. So for us, it's not about diversifying just to say we're a band, but we have two apartments renting. No, we diversify within the space. So that's where the add-ons come on. You know, the brunches, carnival bands, you know, the merchandising. If you notice, it's still within the entertainment.
Right.
You know, because that is that is the core business, right? And the space is big enough to have 5, 6 incomes from that space. You know, I think a lot of people just mix the word diversify and just figure they have to get out of the space. But for us, merchandising, collecting royalties, doing our carnival band, our birthday brunch. If you just check it, that's like 5 different avenues within the same entertainment space. So that is, I think, very, very important. But we definitely, I think, at a young age, catch it.
For sure. And I want to ask you, as you mentioned that, what led to the birth of Fantasy Tribe?
Ah, on the spot. Fantasy Tribe was even before Illumination in terms of idea. But I wasn't gonna pump my cricket money, or Sharon's gonna pump his money, or go to the bank, So it was like, we need capital for that, and that is where Illumination came about, And Illumination literally is, I would say, a second choice, because fantasy costume has always been our vision,
Ah, okay.
but you have to have capital for that, And one thing we never wanted to do is walk into a room and somebody could say signal band owing them. That's one thing we always try to stay away from. So we didn't want to go about it in a debt form. So we had to find something else to build a capital, and that's where Illumination came about. Illumination was supposed to be a Monday night. So what Luminite is now was supposed to be
Was the
Illumination.
original idea?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, because I was in Grenada for cricket for a few years, and the Monday night in Grenada is just lights. And I was like, this is a perfect idea for Dominica, because our t-shirt band used to be from midday, hot sun.
Yeah.
But
Hot sun and sweat.
yeah, hot sun and sweat. And then I think that was the year Mario came.
Yeah.
So boom, we launched Farm and Happy, and then powers that be decided kind was open at 6. And you can imagine, you pay Farm and Happy a deposit. Your first go and you have money on the line, you're like, we have to do something. So we switch it to the Juve. And that's how Juve, the Illumination, came about. So what you're seeing we doing is literally not wake up today and just do it.
And do something.
Those things has been in the pipeline and in the works for a long time. And it's just amazing that the way it just happened now that it's falling in line. We kind of master the art of the Juve. We go into the Illuminite, and now we costume and falling in line. So pretty much working out, for us, and can't complain, to be honest.
So I know, now that you're letting me know a little bit an inside information
Yeah.
that things are definitely worked out in the pipeline for a very long time. So what else can we look forward to from Signal? Because I mean, you all gave us Luminite, Illumination, as you mentioned, and Fantasy Tribe, along with the package deal that Fantasy
Yeah.
Tribe is. So what else is Signal looking to do when it comes to diversifying within this space?
I think now our immediate project is trying to perfect what we do for our birthday. Last year we did a boat cruise. I was pretty good, but then boat was too small.
Yeah.
So we're trying to branch out this time. I think the ultimate goal is being able to hop on a plane and do these events outside. And that is where, I think the real buck is. We go to places that heavily Dominica populated, like Antigua,
Right.
and you see thousands of people coming to a fete, and you're headlining the fete. So I can't my own fete in Antigua, make my money and come back if it's on a plane.
Yeah.
That's the kind of energy we have. And then you see soca artists doing it. And that is I think, was our driving force. And then Signal being young boys, we said that we need to do something that will make people respect us.
Yeah.
People not gonna look at you as adults until you start doing adult things. And that is where those things come from.
How do you build and sustain such a strong brand identity? As if you were giving that kind of advice to an upcoming artist, what would you tell them?
In one line, I would say the most important thing is you need to know what you want. Right? And I use us again. Kaz, for example, he know the history in terms of, because he was working with us for first nomination. We never once wanted to budge away from who we were. As long as it took, we were prepared to stay in that road, because we knew at the end of the day, the road we're in, newborn, middle age, old, after death, will love our music, right? And people keep talking about they seen a new signal. No, it's just a signal that understands that everybody's important, and we felt like we needed to ensure that that brand or that name signal can come off everybody's mouth. I mean, one time we were called a corporate band by a few people in the industry. I know the same people now asking us how we getting those deals. And I'm laughing. I'm like, go and figure it out. Because the reality is we knew from the day one we knew what we didn't want. We didn't know what we wanted, but we definitely knew what we didn't want. And I think when you know what you don't want, God will give you what you need. And I think that's
I like that.
how we played out for us.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that? I know you mentioned in terms of your fan base that you're reaching you're crossing generations. How do you think that social media plays a role in maintaining your visibility and maintaining your fan loyalty?
I think right now, heavy, like 90%, and it is very difficult because what people don't understand or what the average person won't know is that you have 10 people in a room, 10 different ages, they expect 10 different things. And our small world, we have to make sure everybody's happy, right? So we're very specific in what we post. We're very intentional what we post. There's nothing that goes on Cinnaband's profile that we don't know the pros and cons. But the reality is we have a young generation, we have a middle generation, and a mature generation. And we know at every point when we need to touch each of these generations. And it is very difficult because when we hit the young generation, the mature get vexed because they're like, they forget all the identity. And I'm like, when we have to kind of defend that and, remind people that hey, Illumination have 3,000 people. If, let's case in point, somebody mature people will come out on us for having nasty business on Illumination. And I will tell them straight up like, we have an 8-hour fete. Nasty business has half an hour slot on my fete. And you want me to not put them? That half an hour slot can determine 500 people coming to the fete or not. Because what you like, they don't like it. And that's the kind of conversations we have to be having with people, and it's honestly, it's fun because it also lets us know the perspective of the average person, and it makes us know what to do and what not to do. So social media has a part to play, but most times we just watch it and laugh because we're very intentional in what we do, so there's nothing we put out, we don't know what's going to happen.
So how do you navigate then? Because you just mentioned, and it's something that I'm realizing I crossing into a different generation. So sometimes I be a little upset too. Just like the your people. How do you effortlessly manage to bridge the gap then, bridge the conversation between all of these generations to make sure that at the end of the day, people are not 100% satisfied, but people are generally satisfied?
Okay, let's just use most recent this week. Look at a music video release of I can't remember the name, but we released a music video this week. And then Shelly has the social media on another frequency
Yes.
because of something else. And if you notice that it's two different generations already.
Yeah.
Right? But then we may post a video of us playing in St. Kitts Music Festival. That's another generation that will appreciate that. So what we do, we just make sure we do not stay away from that generation or any generation too long. We give them something to always remember. For them, it's always about letting them know that we know what we're doing or we know the identity. And if we don't have anything for that generation at that time, we just don't say nothing. I think the problem is trying to over-explain yourself. And then you start running a web around yourself. You cannot please everybody at every time. So sometimes you just have to leave it because 2-3 months on the line, same people like, boy, that's my band, I love them because, wow, you just one song they like. And that is just this space. So sometimes the best way to navigate is by ignoring. It might sound a bit harsh, but when you're trying to feed 3, 4 different, you know, I would say age gaps, you have to learn to ignore sometimes. It's not that you're not valuing what they feel, but you have to ignore. Like Carnival, we know we in a different generation Carnival, we in a different speed. Nothing that generation can say can change our mind. If it's that we're doing, it's that we're doing. Conqueror Festival, we swinging a bit different now. Should jump up in Carnival Girl. You can say what you want.
That happening.
That happening, you check. So we just have to understand those things. And then, I think that works well for us because we're not shunning anybody aside. We valuing everybody input. It's just that sometimes we cannot make you happy at that time.
Yeah.
Simple.
Like any brand.
Yeah.
Like any brand, sometimes Nike might post might advertise a new
Yeah, and I'm feeling it.
athleisure you don't like.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
It might be pink.
Yeah.
You might not necessarily
I'll wait
like
for the
it.
next one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from your loyalty
Yeah,
to
definitely.
the brand.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's definitely good. And I like that. I like that you are not trying to comfort everybody.
No, you
Because
cannot.
it can't be about, comfort for everybody. It's at the end of the day, it's a business. So
Definitely.
all right. So tell us about your most difficult moments as the band manager and how did you navigate that?
To be very honest, the most difficult is not once, but I think on 2 occasions.
Your most memorable then.
No, difficult is fine, but it's 2 occasions. We had to deal with, I would say, the PR. Unfortunate circumstances. Two on different spectrums, but navigating those things, once again, is picking your battles. In any business, there's issues. In any business, there'll be highs and lows. And I don't think everybody needs to know you're dealing in. Like I said earlier, the truth is always the truth. So there's no need to come and justify the truth. So what we good at, I think the PM said it, we know everybody business but our own. So there are enough times, we go on the social media and we see all sorts of angles, all sorts of visions of stories. But I think once you genuinely clear on the inside, as much as you may want to come out and put out some press or some statement, sometimes you have to let it die by itself. So navigating those things was difficult because we choose not to answer. Not because we couldn't answer, it's because
You made a choice.
we just felt like for what we stand for, let's not entertain the drama. So I think as much as we ignored it, it was hard because you can imagine people attacking characters, people trying to tarnish your name, people, we have a thing in St. Dominica, get it from good sauce. Sometimes that is the worst sauce.
Yeah.
And you have to live with that. But for us it's okay because we know the truth and the truth doesn't change. So that navigating that through silence was my most difficult because I wanted to answer a few people, but the Suge Knight in me was sleeping. Yeah.
So what is your ultimate ambition as the band manager that you have for Signal Band?
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or step on toes,
Step on it.
but my ultimate goal is for us not to repeat the cycle of all the bands before us. And I can be honest about it. I don't want to be in my 40s and 50s and fight the next young band coming up. And I don't want to be in my 40s and 50s and the band members feel like we haven't achieved. When I say achieve, I mean personally, financially, that is the ultimate goal. And that's why I think the structure we have today is why it is. Because these are some of the don'ts. And these are some of the things we know we do not want. As an athlete, I'll touch on an athlete. As an athlete, the most uncomfortable space you can be in is in a dressing room with an older player that doesn't want you to do well. And it takes an athlete to understand that feeling. And I tell a lot of people, they never compete in their life. So they don't know what competition is. Competition should not bring hate. So I don't want Signal Band to ever, and I keep telling them that the one day we get down in that energy, I first to leave. Because I've been athlete for 15 years, and I can tell you, it is hard trying to be in a room, you're not welcome. So I don't want to make anybody coming up uncomfortable. And I think there's enough for everybody. And that is why you see us tight as how we tight, and that's why you see we're in our business. Because we have a different philosophy of how things should be. And we want to be the change. So
Be the
maybe
change you want to see.
so maybe 10 years from now when I come here, I can say, Craig, let's go and me and get a drink after. That is what I feel is when I know Signal Band has paid its dues. Yeah.
All right. So you went into a little bit of your past life, about being an athlete. I don't say past. I don't give up. But you went a little bit into that, mentioning that you took some of those things into the music industry. What other habits or tactics that you think that you developed over time in your career, your cricket career, that became transferable in your current role?
I mean, it can be two ways. For me, one of the main things is seeing other people successful. What people don't realize is if we on the same team and I'm having a bad day out, but you're having a good day out and the team wins, chances are my bad days will be overlooked because the team won. So for me is when we're having a bad day, nobody has to know we're having a bad day. There are days where we go on stage and Dylan's head hurting him, shell under our voice. And at the back, I'll be like, fellas, that is not the crowd business. And that's one thing I learned through sports, that when you walk on the boundary, you can't make excuses. And then one of the other things I really learned from a transfer, preparation. You can never see a singer band go on stage and song like they don't know what they're doing. Those days are done. Sometimes the transitions, we starting to pull off. People and they're like, what? Well, you're hiding somewhere, man. But preparation is key. So those two things for sure, I think, have stayed with me. Seeing others happy and successful. Because like I said, once you're successful, the team's successful, the bad day player, people doesn't remember him. Because the success will always overshadow the bad day. But if I having a bad day and I don't want you to do well, and then we lose, and the coach looking to see
Now everybody know
the
it.
coach looking to see who not play next game. I already play on teams and players having bad season after season, but the team winning. And nowadays say about winning formula, don't change it. So some people getting some free rides, but that's what teamwork is. And so that's one of the things I ensure the guys always remember. Anybody having a bad day, you have to pull him up. So if they're having a bad day, Shelly have to work twice as hard. Because it's not people's business to know they're having a bad day. And that's how we operate.
So at what point did you realize that Signal Band was on a successful trajectory?
It's not one point. I think every hurdle and how we overcome it. I don't think you can point success in one point. I think we have had like I said, a lot of things been thrown at us. And every time we get over it and then we look back and like, it's like, what? We get over that? The last big hurdle we had was one of the members, former members had, running with the law. And everybody on social media was like, that's the end of the band. Everybody. And we just buckle up. We say, fellas, Kes singing alone, Marshall singing alone, Issa singing alone, people sleeping and watch them. So we singing alone, Shelly, tie your waist. We can do it. We had enough of that. So all those hurdles just make us strong. And every time we climb one, it's like, yeah, we're doing something right. So I don't think there's one situation we can say that we can recognize and say this is the reason why we know we can be successful. I think every journey have its own lyrical story.
All right. So I want to ask you something a little different. How would you balance cultural authenticity with commercial appeal? Because I know right now we are in a space where everybody looking to make a money. Everybody looking to make some coins, everybody looking to secure the bag.
The bag,
But at what cost? So how do you make sure that there is a balance between cultural authenticity, especially when it comes to Bouyon music and its identity, with, commercial appeal?
it's a tricky question, to be honest. Shelly, I was thinking saying that, if you know your identity, you cannot lose it. And I think that's one of the ways I will answer that question. For us, Bouyon is unique, but not everything unique can sell. So something you have to pretty it up a bit, right? And for us, the Bouyon we play, I think, is the pretty up of it. That is what we can sell. We can, if you notice, our songs play in church, our songs play anywhere, funeral, whatever.
You're right, it's built into my
Our song,
processing.
yeah, our songs just play everywhere, and that was us commercializing it. We know what can sell in what space. Don't ever think we cannot go on stage and sing what everybody's singing, but we know what value that can bring or how much value it can bring. So, but that wouldn't stop us from singing with them or bringing them on our stage. So I think it's a balance where you have to know what you want, but you also have to know the space you're in, because depends on the space you're in, it sells differently, right? So cultural wise, we can't lose the Bouyon. We have a unique song. I mean, everybody can try and play it, but I don't meet not one drummer in Caribbean that can drum a Bouyon like a Dominican, and we have to be proud of those things. Every time we play with Vaughn, for example, at music festival, and Vaughn say, finally you get the Bouyon song. Because he's like, yeah, and finally I can get the trilogy song he wait want, I want. And there's a man that playing that song everywhere you go, on all kind of different band. So I think we have something unique that cannot be, this can't be replaced, right? And we just have to learn how to sell it, and my market may not be your market. I think everybody have to know what is their market. So if you know you can sell it in that market for that price and that you're comfortable with, do it. But I feel like that is the issue. We try and sell the same thing across the board at the same price. It cannot work, because that is not how life is. It's not trying to value me more than you value. It's just that certain things will have a selling price based on where it is.
For sure. And that reminds me of something I saw recently. I saw a reel on Instagram the other day. It was this young lady. She had a post about branding, the importance of branding and packaging. And what she had was orange juice. So she had orange juice in a container. She poured it in a regular glass that you have at your home. And the price tag on it was $5. The next one, she used that same orange juice, but she put it in a champagne flute, and she had a little garnish on it.
Yeah.
And that one was $12. Then the last one, she put it in a wine glass, the like a bouginess.
Yeah.
She put a sprig of rosemary in there, lemon and orange garnish.
$25, right?
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we noticed that this is same orange juice.
Yeah, it's-
But at the end of the day, is the branding behind it and how it's packaged, so how it looks.
right? Yeah.
And even for me, I say, what time I want the $25 one.
Yeah, it just looking nice.
It's just looking nice.
But even here, just look at the water. Start in town, and everywhere until you reach my God, buy a small bottle of water. And I bet you spend $100. By the time you get to Orchards, it's $10 for it.
Yes.
It's the same bottle of
Both
water.
if it's in the airport.
Same bottle of water. And that's just the reality of how it is. But that doesn't mean it devalues the water.
Exactly.
It just tells you that I see it in a different space, and I see it more valuable in a different space. So I think that is what we need to just get a hold of. But I don't think cultural wise, we're not going nowhere, man. We're there. We meet it there, we have to leave it there. We're not going nowhere. Trust me.
All right. So, Jelani, this is the point where it gets really fun. It's really short. It's the time for like vibes now. So, the few questions that I'm gonna ask you, next is what we call rapid fire.
Okay.
So it's just something that you think of quickly, and it's something that has a little power.
I can lie. No lies. Most I use it quickly. I don't think I say something.
Where do you see Bouyon music in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think a proper Caribbean takeover. That's why I see it. We on our way, but we're not there yet. So next 5 to 10, I see us controlling the Caribbean space for sure. Definitely.
All right. I like that. What is your most memorable tour moment?
My tour, like general tour.
Yeah.
My most memorable tour moment is there was one fan that came up to me. She said everything right, and then she called the wrong band name. She called the artist right, she called the song right. She said when the song released, she said where the video was, and then she called another name. I'm like, wrong place. Wrong place. And she was shocked, but he's a elderly, so I wasn't too hard on her, But I mean, she get 9 out of 10 correct.
That's still a 90%.
Yeah,
That's
so
almost great.
she did okay. She did okay.
So as you talk about fans, what's your craziest fan story?
Fans been at the hotel before us. We just wanted to get autograph.
Wow.
I mean, that is when you realize, oh shit, that
You've made it.
that's not a joke again. Yeah, that's not a joke anymore. So that's the craziest moment.
So in that, what's your craziest tour experience?
But once you have to land in the station, say we're crazy. So it's 2 airports. Yeah, and take shot and get feeling. Yeah, as he played in Touch Drunk, reverse gear one time. See that? That's what I have to do, but that don't dice. And that's anybody that go in there, that don't dice. Same by station. Yeah, I gotta take the boat. Yeah, those two there, stay away from that.
No, it's either.
Yeah, stay from that.
What's a non-monetary reward that you enjoy and even look forward to?
But when you see the promoter enjoying themselves and telling you, yeah, you make their fit be what it is. I think that is because you don't know what to expect. You remember you go into a fete and you don't know if the fete are people, you don't know if tickets sell out, nothing. And then, when you see the promoter more drunk than the people that enjoying the money, and then sort of kind of tell you, yeah, next year we on, there's like, yeah, you delivered. So
What's your number one piece of advice to upcoming Bouyon artists about the business side?
study it. Yeah, study the business. Take your time and study it. Because you have a lot more than just going and play on stage. And if you don't do it right, you're just going to be another one. So just study it.
What's your biggest expense in managing
wardrobe.
Bouyon artists?
Wardrobe. See, dressing, yeah, that's a strain. But I have a whole line item for that. Yeah, when I see the wardrobe expense on, I'm like, what? For 40 minutes, buddy? Yeah, the wardrobe just be heavy. See, Curl Festival, see someone like Norway and you go every time you have to boost a tag on it because a new shit, boy, that's a strain. But it worth it, man. The wardrobe for sure.
So tell us, sponsorships or merchandising, which is more profitable?
Merchandising, but sponsorship works, if that makes sense. So for now, the sponsorship definitely works, but you're not gonna be there forever. So back to my, merchandising for sure in the long run, definitely.
Diversify or specialize? What is your pick for brand growth?
Diversify. Yeah.
If Bouyon were a company, what would its tagline be? That one you can marinate a little bit.
Tagline. Bouyon come get served, we out say. Come get served. Yeah, I'll use that.
Come get served. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you explain Bouyon, first thing everybody tell you is if you're like a port and so come and get it. Come get served.
Come get served.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay, I think you might want to copyright that.
Oh, if Craig use that as a tagline, I'll just send the lawyer up there. Say let on the door.
That one that you can't play favorites. You have to play the right favorites.
Oh damn, favorites.
Who is your favorite Bouyon artist right now?
Pudas. That's my artist. Grand Four. Dirty Dog. That's my boy.
Dirty Life We Live It.
Dirty Life we live it. Hands down, Pudas.
So, what if you had to describe in terms of if it cold, if it hot, if it warm, the Bouyon state in Dominica right now? What or which would you use?
It's in a microwave, man. It's a little warm. Not cold, but not so hot. But warm.
Warm.
Yeah, I say warm.
Okay, and how do you think that the state is in the Caribbean?
No, it's hot in the Caribbean. Yeah, outside there it's hot. But I feel like home, no, it's not where it should be.
So if I had to go through your phone now and go to your playlist, so what is this song, the Bouyon song that have the most plays in your phone?
Boy, that's a good question. Because I just play everything in my phone, especially in the gym. Boy. I think, honestly, not being biased, I think Buy to the Old Me have the highest play in my phone. And then everything is from Pudas. Yeah, Pudas is my dog. So me with the energy Pudas is giving and I working out his outfit.
Dirty.
That one to hear. But I think Buy to the Old Me, it's just because of the storyline. So even Casual Drive, I'll play that. So I think that will top the playlist.
All right. So what about your favorite band in Bouyon of all time?
Another hypocrite. I grew up in a WCK space. WCK was what I grew up listening to. Then Triple K came along. Sheldon was in Triple K, so naturally as a friend I had to follow him. So I grew a liking for Triple K. There's certain songs today of Triple K I will say that's my favorite. When they play I will dance to it. I don't care who they are. But I grew up a WCK fanatic for sure.
So you okay. So we talk about CK and we talk about Triple K. What's your favorite WCK song, hands down?
Um, I do think it's one of the most people's favorite, but Pride and Joy for some reason. I love Pride and Joy. Something about that. Yes, yeah. Yeah, Pride and Joy.
All right, and you see CK at different eras.
Yeah.
That's from a different era. CK.
Yeah, that's the Clint H era.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that era.
So can I say that's your favorite era?
Yeah, I have appreciation for that because I think that era was the era that I think we have a crazy notion that music doesn't work on the road, songs doesn't work on the road, but WCK is full of songs. I see videos going around now of Nai and his songs, Better Days, those things. So that era was sweet, and people used to fight under them songs. So you can even say it's like them songs didn't have the Ketwaka too. But that era, I appreciate it. I think I appreciate it more because of the reaction of people. The people used to be on the bridge waiting and CK purposefully, and I would say CK purposefully used to come to Rosa quarter to 9 because they know Dominica waiting for them. And they used to do that on purpose. I used to be wrong, so I know. But that era was definitely my favorite era. Definitely.
All right. So what's your favorite Triple K?
Two Jam. Yeah, the ones I played a while. Yeah, Two Jam. You go on YouTube and look for it, Two Jam. See that song? If you're waiting for them and they forget, that's my song. No matter where I am and that song playing, everybody that know me properly know that's my favorite Triple K song. Yeah, definitely.
So that's your section. I think we and you sitting on the same section with Triple K.
That good. Yeah, but that is my favorite. That's my favorite, definitely.
Anybody or any people that you want to give credit to when it comes to your growth in the industry?
I would say there are two people that definitely had me on speed dial, good, the bad, and the ugly. Val Coffee, was always a hidden advisor. But Val would advise when he see things not going how it's supposed to go. But I would want to give the biggest credit, in terms of my management and some insight to Jeffrey Baptist from Flo. Yeah, I used to play football with Jeffrey every morning in the gardens from 6 to 7:30, and we would sit down there until like 9. Jeffrey used to go work late. I mean, he's the boss.
You
But
can go all time you want.
Jeffrey used to go work late, and we used to sit down there and talk. Jeffrey would give me, and after the like today, Jeffrey would WhatsApp me and just shower his blessings and shower his praises on what we're doing. And that's somebody that never once before now you hear me talk about. But that is somebody the band knows definitely. Shelly knows definitely that. Jeffrey was the first person to give us the insight on when we start to ask certain people to play for us, what not to pay them, because Flo not paying them that, and we don't have Flo money yet. So Jeffrey has really given me the insight. And a lot of the don'ts came from him because he worked with WCK and being the manager of Flow, working in Curl in the Park, and
Right.
he know solid stuff. So I would give heavy credit to Jeffrey for sure.
All right. So Jelani, as we wrap up here, what would be your parting words? Any kind of advice you want to give? Any more credit that you want to give?
Before we close up, I want to firstly kudos to the band members. I think we talk about all the structures and whatever, but kudos to them for making it easy. They're not rowdy guys. So for sure it working with them is smooth. I don't think we ever had band meetings where it was any bickering at each other or having at each other's face. So I want to give shout out to the guys. Donnell, Darren, Gio, Akim. We have Liam, then we have Diana in the back room, Elsa. These are people that work with us 8 to 4, I would say. Shelly. So definitely want to shout them out for that. There are a few other players that's I would say dear to our heart in terms of advice. Adding for adding songs. Loic on our way. And if you notice, I call in people that we working with. That's our truck driver and that's our song system. So that's how we operate. We operate on relationships. We don't operate just on bank balance. We build brands and we build friendships. And if today or tomorrow something is wrong, Aden or Loic will call me and tell me, yo. So shout them out. And there's so many other people we can shout out. So many people that believe in us. We have been with KFC as a brand ambassador for almost 8 years. Joseph and Gabriel 4 years now. Belfast, we just signed a multi-year contract with them. So big up, these people as well. And just want to leave by saying, guys, the music is not fun. Music is a job, but you can make your job fun. So I think the first thing is try your best to secure the bag and try your best to have a structure in place, because music and sports, you create your pension. Social security is not there with you. Retirement plan. You create that. So if you do it wrong, then you have to go and find an 8 to 4 when you retire from it. If you do it right, then you can kick back and sit down. So just remember, all fun and games, yes, but you have to make your bed so you can lie down in it properly. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jelani, for meeting with us, for having a conversation. You gave us a lot of insights when it comes to the business side of things. Definitely, I think for me, my takeaway is always make sure that you have structure in place.
Definitely.
Always define what you want in terms of roles and responsibilities, and make sure that after you've created the brand that you want, that you protect it by all means. So again, Bouyon Pulse wants to tell you thank you very much for what
Thanks
you've
for
been
having me,
doing.
man.
Of course, for what you've been doing in the background, and but it comes to light in the for light.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. This has been Riddim Talk. Signing off. My name is Macey.